Okay, so we continue the chitas of the day. We're holding in the portion of Bahalotcha, chapter 10, in the book of Numbers, chapter 10, verse number 11. It was in the second month. In the second year, the second the second month. The Esrim Bachodesh, and the 20th of the month of Iyar. Nala Onon Me'ala Mishkan, the Onon lifted up from the top of the tabernacle. Rash says, hence we say that they spent 12 months minus 10 days at Chodev, at the Mount Sinai. For the first day of the month of Sivan, they camped around the mountain before the giving of the Torah. Was the first day of the month of Sivan, and they left the following year on the 20th day of the month of Iyar. So in 20th day Iyar is the month before Sivan. 20th day is 10 days before. So they were camped around the mountain of Mount Sinai. Comes out for 11 months and 20 days. That's the calculation. That's what the Torah wants to tell us. Yisu, verse number 12. By Yisu b'nei Yisrael, and the Jewish people started to travel after 11 months encamping around the Mount Sinai, receiving the Torah. They started to travel to the journeys in Midbar Sinai from the desert of Sinai. And the clouds settled in the desert of Paran. Rash says, in accordance to the regulations set down by the traveling of their banners, which should be first and which should be second and last, which we mentioned last week. The Midbar Paran, where is Midbar Paran, Asha? That's Kirvat HaTa'ava, later is mentioned in the Torah, was a desert of Paran, and that's where they encamped after this journey. Verse 13, their first journey leaving the mountains of Sinai was according to the mouth of God, Biyad Moshe in the mouth, and through God's bidding through Moshe Rabbeinu. Verse 14, and the banner, the camp of the tribe of Yehuda, but Shoina will travel in the beginning to their legions. The head of the tribe of Yehuda was Nachshon, the son of Aminadab. And together with him was Bnei Yisachar, Nesanel ben Tzuar, Nesanel the son of Tzuar. Verse 16, Mata Bnei Zvulun, together with Yehuda and Yisachar was a tribe of the Zvulun. Eliyav ben Cheloin was Eliyav the son of Cheloin. Verse 17, Huran HaMishkan,
Rabbi,
was put down. The tabernacle was put down. They put down the tabernacle. They put down the tabernacle, they put it apart, and they dismantled it, and the sons of Gershon set out together with the sons of Merari. Can we answer questions after we finish? Rashi says, once the banner of the tribes of once the banner of Yehuda was set out, Aaron and his sons went in, took down the parochet, and took down the parochet, the curtains, and covered the ark with it. And it says, when the camp was about to travel, Aaron and his sons would come in. The sons of Gershon, the sons of Merari, dismantled the tabernacle, loaded it on the wagons, the ark and the holy utensils, which were carried by the sons of Kahas, stood covered and were placed on poles until the banner of the camp of Reuben set out. Following this, the Kahasim set out. So it was a whole process. This was a well choreographed journey. Verse 18. Imagine you're journeying with a couple million people. Nasa Dega Machne Reuven. Then the banner of the camp of Reuven, according to their legions. Altava, and his heading the legion was Elitur ben Jdeir. Verse 19, Altava Mate Shimon, and the legion of the tribe of Shimon was Shlumiel ben Tzuri Shaddai. Altava Mate God, these three tribes, Reuven, Shimon, and God. And the head of God was Eliasaph ben Duoel. Now, as Rashi mentioned before, V'noso HaKahosim, when they started to travel, after that, the Kahos, not the tribe, the family of Kahos, not say Mudosh, ones who carry the equipment, set out. They came as a Mishkan Avoyam because they set out before the other ones that were carrying the Mishkan itself on the wagons. So the tribe of Kahos carried it on their shoulders, the actual vessel, the menorah, the shulchan, the aron, they were carried on their shoulders with poles. So they went last of the three families. And as the other families got to the new resting place, they would put together the Mishkan. And by the time this family of Kahos got there, the Mishkan was set up, so the vessels went straight in. So that's what it said. They carried the sacred equipment. So the sons of Gesher, the sons of Merari, who preceded them, by the departure by two banners, their own and Reuben's, erected the tabernacle as soon as the clouds settled. The signal for camp had been the camping was seen in the camp of Yehuda, and they encamped. The sons of Kos still traveling behind them. The last two banners, Ephraim and Dan, and the sons of Gershon, Merari, erected the tabernacle, so that when the sons of Kos arrived, they found it set up. And they brought in the ark, the table, the candelabrum, the menorah, the altar, and etc. And that's the way it was run. Verse 22. And then the banner of the camp of Ephraim set out according to his leaders. And the head of the legion was Elishama ben Amihud. Verse 23, Menashe, together with Ephraim was Menashe, and the leader was Gamliel ben Bedatzim. Valtzvan, together with the legion of Menashe, Ephraim and Menashe, was Binyamin, and the leader was Avidan ben Gidoni. And now we go to the last group. Then the banner of the camp of Dan set out, the collector of all the camps. Rashi was seeing what it means, the collector. The collector, according to its legions, heading its legion was Achiezer ben Amishadai. The Rashi is what means the collector. Usually time mistakes because the tribe of Dan was numerous, they traveled less. And if anyone had lost anything on the way, they would find it. So they were the lost and found of the Jewish people. They would collect anything that was lost of the tribes that were traveling in front. They would collect all the lost articles. There's an opinion that they traveled in a box-like formation, and he derives it from the words, just as they camped, they traveled. Another opinion is they traveled in the form of a beam, as it derived from the word, the collectors of all the camp. So the question of how they traveled, but ultimately, they traveled in a way that they could collect everything that the other tribes left behind by mistake or dropped on the way by mistake. So they were collected, and all the tribes would come to them as the lost and found of the Jewish nation. Together with Dan was the tribe of Asher, Pagiel ben Achron. Together with the tribe of Asher and Dan was a tribe of Naphtali. Achira ben Einon. Eila Masa ben Esau, Tzuvesa Vayiso. These are the travelers of the Jewish people, and that's the way they traveled. Rashi says this is the order in which they traveled, and that day, on the second day on the 20th day of the month of Iyar, second year of going out of Egypt, that was the first journey after the giving of the Torah. Verse 29. Moses turned to Chayva, the son of Ruel the Midianite, his father-in-law, Moses' father-in-law, and he told him, "We are traveling to the place in which the Lord said, I will give you. We're going to Eretz Yisrael. Go with us. Go with us. It will be good for you. Yashem diber toiv al Yisrael, because God has spoken good about the fortune of Israel. They're going to get the land." So Rashi says, Chayvav, they Yisrael. We know that Rashi said he had 7 names. As it says, the children of Chayvav, the father-in-law of Yisrael, later in Shoftim. So what does the scripture mean by saying, they, the daughters of Jethro, came to the father of Ruel? It teaches us that the children called their grandfather father. He had many names. Jethro, because through him a portion was added. Chayvav, because he loved the Torah. So that was one of the names that was given. Chayvav. Chayvav means to love. So Yisrael gave up everything in his life to come and be part of the learning of Torah. So look at this Rashi, the next Rashi. Immediately, within 3 days, we will enter the land. They were journeying and they were planning to be in Eretz Yisrael for 3 days. Ultimately, they were stuck in Israel in the desert for 38 years. On this first journey, they traveled with the intention of entering the land of Israel. Because they sinned, the episode of the complainers, they were punished and not enter until much later. So yeah, they were going to get to Eretz so quickly. Why did Moses include himself with them if he wasn't going to enter the land? Because the decree against him entering the land had not yet been issued. And at that time, he thought he was going to enter the land. Everything got, so to say, messed up in a couple of days. Verse 30. So he said to him, I will not go. I will go to my birthplace, to my land and my birthdays. So Rashi says that basically, for whatever the sake of my possession or the sake of my family, I'm going back to Midian. I will not go with you. I'm going back to Midian because I want to go back home. Whether it's because he left his possessions there or he wanted to go back to his family. Verse 31. And he said, Al no sazevi sonu. So he told him, please do not leave us. Because now I know. Now I know. I know because you are familiar with our encampment in the desert. And you will be for us a guide. So Moses begged his father-in-law to stay. So Rashi says, on no sazev, ain't no when it says no, it's an expression of denoting of a request. He made this request, and he didn't want people to say Jethro did not convert to Yiddishkeit. Rather, he thought that proselyte didn't have that proselyte had a portion of land. Now that he realized he had no portion, he forsaken them and gone on his own. We didn't want that people should say that because that there's a different law concerning the connection to the land. It is fitting for you to do this. Remain with us. You are familiar with the places in which we will camp in the desert, and you saw the miracles and the wonders done to us. The expression Yalkein has the meaning ala sheyadai, because you know. Because you know what the people. And the verse is the past tense. It means the wonders you were brought upon, you have seen them in your own eyes. Another explanation, it means the future tense. If anything should be hidden from our eyes, you shall enlighten us with your guidance. Further interpretation shall be beloved to us as the pupil of our eyes. Look how much he loved his father-in-law. Verse 32, if you're going to go with us, whatever God does good for us, he'll do good for you. So Rashi says previously, Yitzhak was worried about land. If he'll get land in Israel, Moshe Rabbeinu assured him. What good did they actually bestow upon him? They said, when Israel apportioned the land, there was a fertile area in Jericho, measuring 500 and 500 cubits, and they refrained from allocating it. They said, the one who had portioned the temple will be built shall take it. Meanwhile, they gave it to the descendants of Jethro, to Jonah the son of Rachab. And it says, the sons of Cani, the father-in-law, Moses' father-in-law, went up to the city of Jericho. So ultimately, he said, I will give you a piece of the land. But he didn't listen. He went home. Verse 33, Vayisu Nahara Hashem, and they traveled from the mountain of God, Dera Shleishes Yomim. They traveled for 3 days. In the covenant of God was traveling in front of them. Dera Shleishes Yomim, 3 days. Lots of menucha to seek for them a place to settle. So this is where we introduced to the concept of 2 arks, according to some. Question is, what happened to the broken tablets? Some say that it was in the ark together with the whole tablets. Some say it was in a separate aron. And that ark they went out to war with 2 arks. One ark with the complete tablets that stayed in the temple or traveled with the Kahas, and one ark that went in front of them to war. So now they completed a distance of 3-day journey in 1 day. That's the meaning of the verse. They didn't travel 3 days, they traveled in 1 day. But what usually would take this whole group, millions of people traveling, it would take 3 days. It took them 1 day. Why? Because God wanted to bring them in the land. And the ark of the Lord covenant traveled 3 days ahead of them. This was the ark that accompanied them in battle. The broken piece of the first set of tablets lay in them. It preceded them by 3 days of travel to prepare them a place of encampment. So in front of the tribe of Yehuda, his camp, traveled the ark. And as the Medrash tells us, it cleared the whole ground, it cleared everything, because you have to have a couple of miles of total straight ground for this group to travel. So that was the ark that traveled in front of the entire Jewish nation. Verse 34. The cloud of the Lord was above them when they traveled from the camp. So Rashi says, the cloud of the Lord is above them. 7 clouds are recorded in the accounts of their travels. 4 from the 4 sides, 1 from above, and 1 from below, and 1 in front of them, which would flatten the highlands, raise the hollows, and destroy the snakes and scorpions. Min Amasna, from the camp, Min Mokam Chaniosan, to the place of their camp. So they were surrounded totally with clouds of glory that traveled with them through the journey in the desert. And that is the concept of the sukkah, the sukkah that surrounded the Jews as they traveled through the desert. That completes the Chumash of the day. We now go to the Tanya of today. So we are holding right now in chapter 6, the 6th chapter of Shar HaYichud VaEmunah. The Alter Rebbe says, Shem Elikim. We mentioned before the 2 names of God, Yud Hey Vav Hey. which is the tetragram, as it's called in English, God's name that we don't mention, we don't say, and that shows on God's kindness. For the aspect of kindness is unlimited. And then the second name of God, Elikim. Bereshis bara Elikim. In the beginning, God created the world. So it says over there the name Elikim. What's the name Elikim? Umidus hagvura v'atzimtzum. Elikim is in general the concept of the God, the attribute of gevura, strength or severity, and tzimtzum, contractions. So you go to the box over here. Each of God's name, God has 7 in the Torah. God has 7 names. That's you look in the Torah. There's 7 names to God. Each of God's names denotes a particular divine attribute. So Yud Hey Vav Hey is God's chesed. Elikim is the concept of severity. So those are the 2 main names, and that's why the 2 main attributes of the 7 attributes is chesed and gevura, kindness and severity. The name pronounced Kael, for example, indicates the attribute of chesed, El, Aleph Lamed. As the verse says, the kindness of Kael endures throughout the day. Likewise, the name indicates the attribute Gevura or Tzimtzum is Elikim. When the light of Ein Sof grabs itself in the attribute of Gevura, it brings about its own Tzimtzum and concealment. It's known as the name Elikim. So again, both are the names of God. The point over here is both are the names of God. So that's why we explained after that we said before that God and his concealment are both from him. In general, by humans, you have the concept of chesed and you have the concept of gevura. They're opposites. And really they contradict each other. And sometimes chesed comes into gevura and sometimes gevura comes into chesed. They're 2 different opposites. They're not united. But in God, they're both the same. Because both of them, as we expressed in the previous teaching, that God and his midas are one. So God is the light and the contraction. Why Lachain? And therefore, in Gematria, that's important numerical value, which is also an important concept we mentioned in the aspect of the letters, the numerical values of the letters, that the numerical values of the letters also has a very important place in the Torah. So the numerical value of the word Elokim is 86. And the word Hateva, nature, is also 86. So they both have the same numerical value. Nature signifies the order way of the way of the world, because it represents it because of its because it is repetitiveness. People become accustomed to it, and it arouses no sense of wonder, even though nature is also a wonder. But we think that that's its nature. We say when we don't know what something is and we just see it constantly, we say that's its nature. So the nature is the sun comes up every day. That's a miracle. But that's the nature. That's the way it is. Mother Nature. But really, because it's clothed in the aspect of nature. Because it always happens. We take it for granted. People are accustomed to it and arouses no sense of wonder. No thought is given to divine power and life force which is instilled within things, which have an established order and are repeated constantly. So most things in life we take for granted. We take for granted that we're healthy. We take for granted that we see. We take for granted that we walk. We take for granted that we talk. This is the nature of things. But really, it's a godly thing. That we can do all these things. It's truly a miraculous aspect. But we don't take it as a miracle because it comes from the name Elohim, and that is nature. This is actually a great miracle, a great wonder of God, that God can hide himself. For the name Elohim conceals the supernal light that brings the world and that gives it, it conceals it. So therefore, since it conceals it, then the thing itself can think it's dust its nature. That's the way it is. That my heart pumps and my lungs breathe and my everything works in my body, Baruch Hashem. It's really a miracle. That's why the Asher Yosef, the prayer that we say every day, many times a day, that we go to the restroom and we say a prayer after we leave, we wash our hands and we say a prayer. That prayer tells about the wonder of a human being, that everything works and everything is open that needs to be open, everything that's closed needs to be closed. Imagine the whole work of a human being, all the veins and all the pipes and everything works. And we take that for granted. We think this is simply a thing that it needs to be. And it doesn't. This is a miraculous aspect of God. God created a human being with great wisdom. And that's why the expression we mentioned in Tanya, from my own body, I can see God. Because if I would understand my own body, I could see the wonders of God. But if I would be able, but again, that's the problem. God needed to hide that concept so that I would not lose my own identity. If I would actually see the wonder with my own eyes, I would be totally nullified to God. And therefore, I say it. You know, people realize this when the Chas Shalom, they get sick. Suddenly, they have constipation. Or suddenly, they have, suddenly the body is not working so well. Then they realize the wonder of the body, the miraculous workings of the body. It appears that Elohim, Elohim, the name of God, Elohim, creates the world. That's why it says, Bereshis bar Elohim. In beginning, Elohim created. Because Elohim gives the world that it's run by nature. It gives that feeling. It gives that aura without having to constantly nude as if permanently programmed. That's it. That's why some people can make the mistake and say God is in heaven. The world runs by itself. It's like built in. So it runs. They wish to put in a system and it runs. That's nature. Ever. We can make that mistake. And a lot of people make that mistake. That was the beginning of this whole six chapters that we're learning. That we should, God forbid, not make that mistake. And it conducts according to the laws of nature, independently of its supernal influence. Thus, even those things that are observed to undergo some degree of renewal are also perceived as a way of nature, in so much as they follow these seemingly immutable laws. So Siddharth explains the word teva, nature, has a number of meanings, including entrenched, submerged. This means that the laws of nature are also so entrenched in creation that it's difficult to detect the ongoing process of its renewal. It's entrenched. It's the way it is. Additionally, thus as a submerged object is completely concealed by the water, so too the divine life force is only submerged and concealed within the created being. So that's the word eva, nature. Really, when we say It's its nature. Why does a lion eat animals? Why? Why does a cow eat hay? Why does a lion eat animals? Why wouldn't the cow? Why is it that way? You don't know. That's its nature. So really, really, the truth is that when we say that's its nature, we really don't know what it means because it is. We know that a lion eats sheep, whatever. It eats animals. It eats meat, and a cow eats hay. That's its nature. So that's the way we see it. That's the way it is. We don't really know why, but we are used to it. We don't see that that's the way God wanted it to be. That's the way it is. The Shem Elakim Zeh. And this name Elakim not has to exist in the supernal source, but acts through the attribute of Gevurah, so that a world appeared to conduct in a natural manner. Is the shield and the sheath for the Shem Havai, for the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Divine name Havaya, Yud Kei Vav Kei, as mentioned earlier and explained in the verse, the sun and a shield is Havaya Elikim. So the sun is Havaya, so to say, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Its shield is Shem Elikim. It's like the illuminating sun, while the name Elikim conceals its light. As does the sun shielding, thereby enabling created beings to benefit from it. So the Shem Elikim conceals the life force that flows from the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei and brings creation to existence from naught. This being the purpose of Havaya. So Havaya is Chesed, to create, and Elikim is to give creation its existence. The name itself means to bring into existence. Havaya, that it is, it creates. The light and the life force is concealed by Elikim, so that they would not be revealed to the humans, the creation in general, which would thereby become absolutely nullified. So since it's only through the concealment effected by name Elikim that created beings are able to exist, so the quality of this gevurah and this contraction is also an aspect of chesed. So that's the greatest kindness ultimately. That's the way you see that gevurah is kind. Because this gevurah, this contraction that God does and doesn't let the light be revealed, gives you and I who we are. If God will reveal himself, we will become nullified. So thank God that he hides himself, so it gives me who I am. It gives you who you are. And together we make a beautiful world. And that's the beauty of this concept. That's why in the source of everything, Chesed and Gevurah are all the same. Because they're all about giving. One is giving, Chesed is giving, and one is giving it in the right way. So you can translate it also in our own life. We can give something to somebody, what we want to give, and we can give something to somebody, what they want to have. So when we give something, we're giving, but the other person doesn't want it, or the other person doesn't need it, or the other person cannot handle it. So what's worth our giving? So giving, when we give something, and then we understand what the other person needs, right? So that's why we give. We sometimes as parents, as a spouse, we give something to the other person, but they're not looking for that. They're looking for something totally different. But we say, we're giving you. We're a giver. But the person that you're giving to is saying, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for something else. So that's gevurah. So that's gevurah. Gevurah is to contract myself and to think about what that person needs. Now my giving is tailor-made for that person. So that contraction in myself is actually giving, because I'm giving and I'm especially caring about what that other person needs. So that's the beauty of Gevura and Chesed, and that's why we in our lives we have to have Gevura and Chesed. We have to have a mixture of both. We have to be givers, but we have to give to the other person what they need. Not just say, I'll give you what I think you need. I'm the giver and I will tell you what you need. No. That's the beauty. That's where you see the humility it's brought down. That's where we see the greatness of God. That God is the ultimate giver, but he thought about humanity. He cared about, he gave respect to the humanity. And he gave humanity what they need. And that was Bereshis Bara Lekim. The Abishah contracted himself so that he would give humanity what it needs. And that is, at the end of the quality of Gevura and Tzimtzum is also aspect of Chesed, through which the world was built. So this is an allusion to the verse that states, for I declare that the world will be built through the attribute of Chesed. For so much that the world could not possibly be created without Tzimtzum and concealment, affordable by the divine name of Elohim, it follows that the ultimate intent of Tzimtzum is Chesed. And what does that mean? This is the quality of Gvura which is included in Chesed. Meaning, this is the form of Gvura through which the act of Chesed is accomplished. Such, it's included within the aspect of kindness. And that's the end of the Tanya of the day. I'll take your questions in a moment. Let me just say the Tillim of the day. Today is the 16th day of the month. Today is the 16th day of the month, so the Tillim, the Psalms for today is chapter 79, 80, 81, 82. So 79 to chapter 82. Wish you all a beautiful, wonderful day. Today we continue in the afternoon at 7:30 with the class, the fifth class. This can happen, and you can either come to Zoom or at the Chabad house at 7:30, and we'll continue this class. Have a beautiful day. Before I just want to say goodbye to everybody that's on Torah Direct. Have a beautiful day, a wonderful day.